Yes. And you don't remember what it was about? Why I said that? What's in your mind? Come on, think. Now you know. Just think a minute. What were we talking about last night? Remember we're talking about, in school,
Yeah.
and then why is it that kids are mean sometimes in school? And we were talking about proprietorship. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now can you say what's the false concept of proprietorship? Okay, so listen carefully what he says.
The false concept is like, this is mine, and then you give an example, like when babies like pass stool, then they eat it. It's because it comes from them. They think it's theirs, so then they eat it.
Wait, they eat it?
Yeah.
Oh, in the womb?
No, okay, but you're going to an extreme example. No, let's not talk about babies. Let's talk about young kids. Do young kids say, this is mine?
Yeah, all the time.
Where did they learn that from?
I have no idea.
Yeah. No, see, the false concept of proprietorship. What is the, first of all, let me ask the question. What's the real concept of proprietorship? Everything belongs to Krishna, right? Now, the concept, I'm going to go over this because it's an important point. The concept of proprietorship defines a society. Write that down. The concept of proprietorship defines a society. For example, let me ask you a question. What kind of society do we live in? What is the concept of proprietorship in our society in the United States?
This is mine. Everything is mine.
No, it's called capitalism. What does capitalism mean? Yes.
It means that you can earn as much money as you
It means that you are the proprietor.
Yeah.
It guarantees individual proprietorship. Okay. Then there's socialism. What's the concept of proprietorship in socialism?
Everything belongs to the government.
Everything belongs to the government. The banks belong to the government. Industries belong to the government. It does not guarantee individual proprietorship. Or if it does, it's in a very limited way. But most of the laws are for government ownership. How about communism? What's the concept of proprietorship in communism? You know? Why did you take the microphone? Oh, okay. Anybody want to? Okay, give her. What's the concept of proprietorship in communism?
Everything belongs to everyone.
Everything belongs to the community. Yeah, it's communal. That's pure communism, right? Okay, so now we discuss capitalism, socialism, communism. All three of those are based on a concept of proprietorship. How about a monarchy, where you have a king, queen, and nobles? Yes?
Everything belongs to the king.
King and the nobles, yeah. The laws guarantee that. How about in a dictatorship? Yes? Yes, Prabhu.
Everything belongs to the dictator.
Yeah, and his buddies.
Yeah.
His buddies. Usually it's his family, but anybody who's a bud. Okay? Now how about in anarchy and anarchism? Yes.
Complete chaotic society, nothing belongs to anyone.
Yeah, nothing belongs to anyone. In an anarchic society, children don't belong to their parents. Yeah. Yeah, places like that. There are societies where to enter the society you have to accept your money doesn't belong to you, your children don't belong to you, your wife doesn't belong to you. Yeah, but there's small societies They have them in the United States also. Something like that, yeah. Okay, and then so we covered dictatorship, monarchy, capitalism, socialism, communism. Is there another one? That's about it. Each one of those has a principle of proprietorship. Are those principles correct or incorrect? Okay, how do you know they're incorrect? Because the people are never completely satisfied in those societies. Never completely satisfied. What is the correct concept of proprietorship? Yes. Actually, that type of, you can name that type of society spiritual communism. What the Russians did, they had atheistic communism. That's why it failed. And the Russians were trying to eliminate all competition. Everyone is equal. It never worked. They tried to make it a classless society where there's only everyone's a worker, right? It didn't work. They ended up with the nomenclatura. It's a Russian word, but actually it's a Latin word, but they pronounce it nomenclatura, but it's actually Latin. It means that no classes. Everyone's equal. But it didn't happen. You ended up, you still had the intellectuals, you still had the military people and politicians, you had the common workers, and you had the intellectuals are like Brahmins, the military political people are like the Kshatriyas, and you had the managers of factories. On paper, the factory didn't belong to them, but they were managers. So they were like owners, but in a roundabout way. And then you had the common workers. So they tried to eliminate the classes, but they couldn't do it. Because Krishna says, Chaturvanya maya shishtam gunakarma vibhagasa tashikartaram apimam vidyakartaram abhiyam. In the beginning of time, Krishna says, I established the 4 social orders of society: Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. So, even though the Russians did everything they could to eliminate classes, they wanted to have a classless society, it didn't work. And their whole system, although it sounds good on paper, because it's communism, right? Everyone's equal, everyone receives their minimum needs, and so forth, and it's everyone's, comrade or brother, but the whole thing failed. And about 60 million people died or were slaughtered in order to make it into a communistic society that ultimately failed. The Russians, they created a famine, artificially created a famine in Ukraine. 30 million people died, 30 million Ukrainians. That's why the Ukrainians hate the Russians. In fact, the Ukrainians sided with the Nazis in World War II. That's why Russia's at war with Ukraine right now. Because they purposely caused the Russians purposely caused a famine in Ukraine in the 1930s. So anyway, see, if you study history, it's very depressing. But if you study the real history, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, it's uplifting. Of course, there's war also. Mahabharata ends up with a war, right? But in the end, everyone on that battlefield, the 640 million people that died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, were liberated because Krishna was present there. But the 55 million people that died in World War II, were they liberated? No, not at all. They had horrible deaths. And the 55,000 American soldiers died in Vietnam, were they liberated? No. And the 30 million people that died in the famine in Ukraine, were they liberated? No. It's all horrible. And it just creates enmity. Okay, so here it says, let's get to the real point here, that Prabhupada says that avidya or ignorance is undoubtedly dangerous, but vidya or knowledge is even more dangerous when mistaken or misguided. This mantra of Sri Upanishad is more applicable today than at any time in the past. Modern civilization has advanced considerably in the field of mass education. Okay? But the result is that people are more unhappy than ever before because of the stress placed on material advancement to the exclusion of the most important part of life, the spiritual aspect. So do they give any spiritual teaching in your school, Krishna? Do they give any spiritual teaching in your school, Shrestha? Okay. Do they give any spiritual teaching in your school? Okay. So you see what Prabhupada is saying here? They're saying, well, whatever they are teaching you is worse than being ignorant. It's better to be ignorant than to be mistaught in these schools. Yes. Okay, let's forget about that right now. Let's just hear this, okay? That's not important right now. Modern civilization has advanced considerably in the field of mass education. Well, they don't want you to stop going to school, but they want you to come to this class. So they're trying to balance it off, okay? That's the answer. But the result is that people are more unhappy than ever before because of the stress placed on material advancement to the exclusion of the most important part of life, the spiritual aspect. As far as vidya, or knowledge, is concerned, the first mantra has explained very clearly that the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of everything. You see? What did we just finish discussing, Madhava? Yes. Very good, see? So we discussed, there's different concepts of proprietorship, right? There's capitalism, socialism, communism, monarchy, dictatorship, anarchy. Okay? Different types of proprietorship. And they're all wrong. The concepts are all wrong. That's why people are not happy. So he says here that as far as vidya is concerned, the first mantra has explained very clearly that the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of everything, and that forgetfulness of this fact is ignorance. So, have we forgotten in America that Krishna is the proprietor? Even though on every dollar they write, what do they write on every dollar? And God we trust. So in other words, the country was started with the idea of God. But see, as this country has evolved, they threw God into the garbage can and replaced him with Marx, Freud, Darwin, and every other idiot that was ever born, and all their speculative theories. Yes?
In the Pledge of Allegiance, kids in my school stand only till the part in God of trust, right?
Yeah, they don't trust God, so they sit down. They refuse to say it. Yeah.
They're atheists. Like, a bunch of kids do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
A bunch of useless kids. The more a man forgets this fact of life, that is that Krishna is the supreme proprietor of everything, the more he is in darkness. In view of this, a godless civilization directed toward the so-called advancement of education is more dangerous than a civilization in which the masses of people are less educated. Now, if you read this in your class, what do you think people would say? In other words, it's saying that in a society of so-called advancement of education, it's more dangerous than a civilization in which the masses of people are less educated. Like, let's put it like this. Let's go back 2 or 3 generations in India, right? Were people less educated? In a material sense, yes. I mean, they didn't know they didn't know about JavaScript and C++ and this thing and that thing, right? Were they better people? Yeah. Much more moral, much more dedicated to Sanatana Dharma, right? So, that's why he's saying here that advancement of education, or this materialistic education, is more dangerous than a civilization in which the masses of people are less educated. It doesn't mean they're stupid or dumb. It just means that their minds have not been poisoned with atheistic gibberish, nonsense. You know, everything started with a big bang. There's no God. Everything is relative. There are no absolutes. Whatever you think or whatever you stink is okay, right? So, that whole ethos, or ethos is a very nice word. You want to look it up? Ethos. Or there's an equivalent to that. They use the German equivalent, Zeitgeist in German. Yes. What's ethos mean? Ethos. Write the word down. Ethos.
Ethos, the characteristic spirit of a culture, era, or community as manifested in its belief and aspirations.
Yes. Now look up Zeitgeist. Even though it's a German word, they still translate it in English.
How do you?
Z-E-I-T, G-E-I-S-T. Z-E-I-T, yeah.
Zeitgeist.
Yes. What does it mean?
The defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history as shown by the ideas and beliefs of the time.
Yeah, see, they mean the same thing. Ethos and Zeitgeist, right? Huh? Z-E-I-T, G-E-I-S-T. If you use this word in some of the things that you write, your teacher will go, wow, where did you learn that? You know, they'll say, well, you get an A+ for that word, just that word. Ethos also is very, you know, all the pseudo-intellectuals, they use these type of words. Yes?
So when you were talking about the
Yes.
so I watched this
Krishna.
video.
1 second. Give him the microphone. Speak slower, because we want to hear every
Okay, so
word
I
you're going to
watched
say.
a video,
Yeah.
and there was a Maharaj. He went to this NASA place meeting thing,
Yeah.
and then they were talking about the Big Bang.
Yeah.
So that Maharaj, he also brought his son there, and his son asked, "Who banged the bang?" And they said that question is not allowed.
There you go. That's called communism. You know, we're going to kill you, comrade, if you say that. You know. Yes. That question is not allowed. Who made the bang?
I think it was a few,
These are real scientists, right? They're real scientists. You know.
I think it was a few weeks ago when we saw an article where NASA or like some science organization figured out that the rate at which the universe is expanding
Yeah.
apparently is like 7% more faster than what they expected. So that means that the Big Bang theory is
It's true.
incorrect. No, is
Oh, it's
incorrect.
Question now.
It's in question because
According to the principles of what explained the Big Bang, they expected the universe to expand at a certain rate.
Uh-huh.
Now, in the last few years, the first 1 or 2 years, they thought it's a small anomaly, and then now it's clearly progressing at a higher rate. So the equations and what explained the Big Bang is not applicable now. So they're like, oh, now we have to rethink.
Yeah.
Maybe there is some change.
No, now it's the big bum. Write down the word anomaly. It's another good word. Look up the word anomaly. A-N-O-N. A-N-O-M-A-L-I, I think. L-L-Y, okay. Anomaly.
Anomaly, something that deviates from what is standard, normal, or expected.
Yes. It's called the black swan phenomenon. The black swan phenomenon. In other words, have you ever seen a black swan? No. So the black swan phenomenon is something happens that you never imagined would happen. Like, all of a sudden the stock market goes down and there's an economic downturn and everything, is getting destroyed, So, so the stock market pundits or gurus sometimes, predict that the stock market's going down, and nobody wants to believe them because, that would mean everything's going to go down. So the black swan phenomenon is something happens that reverses the expectations of everyone. And no one even imagined that such a thing could happen, but still it happens. So, yeah, go ahead, give him the microphone.
I didn't understand, but there is an actual phrase like this because Trump's son-in-law was referring to Trump as the black swan.
Yeah, no one imagined that Trump would ever win the presidency of this country. I mean, everyone's convinced Hillary Clinton was going to win, and there was no doubt about it, and Trump is just a clown, and he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing, he's just a television personality, a reality show man. He became president of the United States. Yeah. Okay, so are you convinced that there's something wrong with modern education? After so many evidences from testimony, each one of you are giving testimony that there's something wrong, right? But do you think your classmates would accept that? Do you think your classmates would accept that there's something wrong with modern education in America?
They would say it's perfect, that it's getting better. Now we realize that there was a big bang and yo-yo.
And a what?
The big bang.
What about it? What? Oh, and YOLO. Yeah, Big Bang and YOLO. Yeah. Okay. So, they're doubting the Big Bang now. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Haribol. Yes.
So in my school, we were in my class. For science, we were learning about the sun, moon, and Earth. So whenever we start a topic, we have what we know and what we want to know. So for what we want to know, people started asking, "Oh, where did the moon come from?" And then one person asked, "Where did the sun come from?" And then everyone started saying, "Oh, the Big Bang, the Big Bang."
The big bum. Yeah. No one said God, right? No. You see? How old are the kids in your class? Yeah. So you see, they feed them the Big Bang like they feed a baby pablum. Cereal. Cream cereal. They poison the minds of the kids. Right from kindergarten on, they start poisoning the minds of the kids with things that are false. They're not factual. And then when they ask a question, where did the sun come from? Everyone says, Big Bang! As if, that's true. Is it true? How do they know? They don't know if it's true or not. And it's not true.
So again, at our dinner table 2 nights ago.
So you went to an educational conference.
Conference, yeah.
Yes.
So it was like, there was big sessions, and then there's also during lunch times.
You break down into small groups.
Small groups.
Yeah.
So there was this discussion on our table about, again, why is this lawlessness coming among kids?
Why is there a breakdown of
in the society? Yeah. So I was actually saying, again, what I hear in these classes, I was trying to kind of tone it down, not in a, forget about what you call the name of the God, but I want to bring the fact that, what we are teaching is actually the basis of this. For example, the theory of evolution is wrong, and we started talking about it. And then this one gentleman was saying, like, but are you saying that there's scientific proof that rattlesnakes in certain parts of the world, stopped?
That what?
The rattlesnakes.
Rattlesnakes. Okay.
Right. They stopped rattling anymore, or whatever. The piece of the rattle stopped extinct. It seems. Again, I told. See.
Wait a minute. How did he go from evolution to the rattlesnake?
Because he was giving that as the
an example of evolving.
Evolving.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So what I told him is, like,
Actually, it's not revolving.
Yeah, it's not evolving, right? So it's
the rattlesnake stops rattling. This makes the rattlesnake more dangerous.
So what then it was discussion about. So then I asked him about. So I look different, you look different. Are you saying that we are different species? Right. So that means, like, there is a natural body adaptation based on the environment that doesn't change the species.
Yeah.
Right? So then he agreed, okay, that makes sense, and then I told him, like, so
no, that's not proof of evolution.
Yeah, that's not the proof of the evolution.
Yeah.
And
like, for example, they take a domesticated rabbit in England, they ship it to Australia and let it go into the wild, and then in 2 or 3 generations, instead of having a pure white hair, the color changes to grayish, right? Because
Correct.
the ones that were pure white, they got wiped out.
Correct.
They got eaten, and the other ones, they could hide a little better with the grayish, brownish hair.
Yeah.
Right?
So they're using.
They say this is the proof.
Exactly. That's all.
But it didn't change the species.
It didn't change the species. So then he started saying that maybe there is, okay, because we started getting into discussion more deeply about, okay, let's say you're talking about even you're digesting the food. You can only eat the food, but you're not controlling how the digestion happens. And then, okay, there is a power, higher power, So then, we started talking about, we accept that there is a higher power, but we want to ignore that power. And then now we start telling everybody that you can control your destiny. But that's where the lawlessness comes, because, that power is in control. We need to accept that power is in control.
Yes.
So
All right, we'll discuss this after the opening of these. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava.
Are you singing? You want to sing? Are you singing? No, I can sing if you want. I'll sing.
നീയാണ് പാടുന്നത്.
Move it here because it won't stand on the. It'll fall. Yeah. यशोमती नंदन ब्रजबर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना यशोमती नंदन ब्रजबर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना गोपी परन धन मदन मनोहर गोपी परन धन मदन मनोहर कालिय दमन विदाना अमल हरिनाममिय विलासा अमल हरिनाममिय विलासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बर बंसी बदन सुवासा प्रजन पालन सुरकुल नासन प्रजन पालन सुरकुल नासन नंद गोदन रखवाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर सुंदर नंद गोपाला जमुना तट चर गोपी बसन हर जमुना तट चर गोपी बसन हर रस रसिक कृप मोया श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर Bhakti Vinodashaya Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Gana Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Okay, so now we're going to do really this is called research. So, today we heard from Madhava. So Madhava told a story about a video that he saw. So tell us again what you saw in that video. What video was it? It was about NASA? Or no? Give him the microphone.
Gaura Gopal Prabhu.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was in a
Start all over.
Okay, so I was watching this Gaura Gopal Prabhu video.
You're starting. What you're watching? What?
Gaura Gopal Prabhu videos.
Yeah.
Okay, so he told a story about him and the son. So
Gaur Gopal. So he's a devotee. Right?
He's a devotee.
He's a devotee from Chopadi, talking about cosmology, right? Is that right?
I watched.
The structure of the universe.
Yeah, he was in a meeting, and then he took his son
to that meeting,
Yeah.
and then the son asked. So they were talking about the Big Bang Theory and stuff like that, and then the son asked, "Who banged the bang?" And then they said that question is not allowed because they don't know the answer.
So the son asked, who banged the bang? Who made the bang?
Who made the bang?
Okay. Who made the bang and the Big Bang? And the scientist told him? The scientist told him that you're not allowed to ask that
Yeah.
question? Jai Shri Radha Nila Madhav Ki Jai.
Jay.
Okay. Next, we heard from okay, Shrestha talked about a school meeting in which eventually they started talking about why kids commit suicide.
Yeah.
Okay, say it again.
So basically, we had a sort of memorial event for the suicide of a boy who killed himself 2 years ago. And after the memorial, in class, we were having a discussion about the memorial, and the teacher asked us, is there anything we can do to stop these teen suicides, because we don't know what to do.
Right. Okay. So your homework is you have to write down what you just said. You have to name the names, and then you do what you said. Okay, now your father told a story about how NASA now is saying that the universe is expanding 7%, and that's more than predicted by the Big Bum theory, right? So you can write that down. Okay. And what did you tell us, Prabhu? What you told something also, right? You didn't say anything? Okay. Was there another testimony? Did you say something, Krishna? No. Oh, you said something, right, Shrivani? Oh yeah, Shrivani said.
Oh.
Okay. YOLO, yeah.
Wait, I need to talk about it again.
Yeah. Just mention. What does YOLO stand for?
You only live once.
YOLO, yeah. So go ahead. Tell us the story again.
So it's like about this. So there's this app, and in that there's like these quotes that like motivate you, and some of them, like most of them, say that try new things, enjoy your life, explore, live your life to the fullest, and everything like that. And at the end, they conclude the sentence with "because YOLO" or "because you only live once." No, it's like a general app. Yeah.
Okay, so you can write that down for tomorrow. Wait a minute, tomorrow. You're going to write down your story. Yeah. And what you said, yeah. Was there another one? Yeah, you had a story. Go ahead. What is your name again?
Sunidhi.
Huh?
Sunidhi.
Suniti, yeah.
In class we were learning about the sun, earth, and moon. So we were writing topics with what we know about the sun, moon, and earth, and what we don't know, and what we want to know about the sun, moon, and earth. So in the what we want to know, one person asked where the sun came from, and then everyone started saying Big Bang, Big Bang, and no one said God. Yeah.
And you didn't say Krishna.
I said God, but no, everyone's like, no, it's Big Bang.
Ah. Okay. So you can write that down on a piece of paper? Not now, but, later on, and bring it tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. So these are what's called testimonies, real-life testimonies of what's going on in schools or in so-called educational videos and apps and so forth, right? Didn't you say, you said something? No? You didn't say, okay. All right. So, now, we'll get back to our subject. You have your sheets? You have a sheet? You have a sheet, Ria? Okay. You need this to know what our lesson is today. So, it says, oh, wait a minute, there was something you were going to finish. Weren't you going to finish something? Yeah, go ahead. And you have to write that down also, right?
Yes, I'll do that. So, there was the debate going on in terms of, discussion going on in terms of, so does this mean like, your belief system doesn't accept science? I said,
Your religion doesn't accept science.
Yeah. So he was basically saying like, does it mean like your belief system or the Indian Vedic system doesn't accept science? I said, see, if you look at how science originated, science assumes that there is an order to everything. And it is trying to explain what that order is and give some rationale. And then from that understanding, it may also create some technology that might make the material life a little better, right? Those are the two purposes of the science. One is to explain what is the basis of the order. And that means like essentially if the science completes its full conclusion, it would come to the same conclusion that, that there is a God behind the creation of everything.
No, don't say God.
Superior power. Yeah, superior power, right? And then, by the way, he acknowledged that in that discussion, saying
so,
that...
See, if you had learned my 6 points of logic,
correct,
proving the existence of superior intelligence in the universe without using Shastra,
correct,
you could have, explained that to him, and,
Yeah, I had that, but I think it was more of those, back and forth.
Yeah.
But he agreed in the end, saying that, yeah, I agree that there is a superior power, right? And so the end point was that he said, like, why don't you send me more of what you know? Because, that was actual towards the end of the... So he was open to understanding more about, this whole...
Hindu point of view.
Exactly. I even told him, like, this is not about Hindu. I told him, like, this is what we call the eternal duty of every living entity. And then that understanding that we're all equal at the soul, because and I told him, like, you are not the same body 10 years ago. You're a different person.
Yeah, you're giving an overload of information. I'm going to stick to the point.
Yeah.
This superior intelligence in the
superior
universe.
Intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah. If you go into the soul and the body and all that, it's like
they're going to be lost.
It's becomes confusing for the people.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So let me tell you what they think is the superior power in the universe. Look up the word teleology. Teleology. Yes, Madhava.
So on the bus, our friend said, "Oh, the Big Bang Theory is real. It's real."
What?
So he said the Big Bang Theory was actually real.
Yeah.
And I asked him who banged the bang like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, actually, I might know." I'm like, this circumference, that circumference, supernova.
That what?
Like he said some random stuff, and he's like, "See, I know it."
No, wait a minute. I didn't understand what you said.
Okay. So me and my
So
friend.
your friend says, "I know who made the bang and the Big Bang."
Yeah.
Okay. What did he say, or who did he say made the bang and the Big Bang?
He said some scientist stuff. He's like, "Oh, this supernova caused some molecule in that to explode or something," and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's actually real." And then like it made no absolute sense. He's just like, it's real, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Okay.
And he believes in God, but
He believes in God?
He's in.
God is the nova, supernova?
He speaks Telugu, but
Okay, what's teleology mean?
Teleology, the explanation of phenomena in terms of the purpose they serve rather than of the cause by which they arise. The explanation of phenomena in terms of the purpose they serve rather than of the cause by which they arise.
Yeah. So this is what they'll usually refer to as the superior power. The teleological movement of nature. Just type that in and see what they say about that.
Yeah, so
Teleological movement of nature.
Yeah, there's an example for that word. No
Yeah.
theory of history can do without teleology.
Yes.
Our theological explanation is the doctrine of design and
Theological is
purpose.
different. Theological is different. We're talking about teleology.
Yeah, but the philosophy, there is two meanings to that. It says in the philosophy, there is an explanation, and then in theological terms, I think they are saying the doctrine of design and purpose in the material world.
Okay. See, now this idea called teleology, it's teleology, right?
Yes.
Was founded by Aristotle. And he said that in nature, there's a natural movement towards self-perfection. It's just natural, he said. So that's the basis of, evolution and all these other ideas, that there's no individual God behind everything. It's just a natural quality of nature to self-improve itself. Does it mention anything like that?
Teleology.
So you said the explanation of phenomena in terms of the purpose they serve rather than the cause. Right.
Yes, the explanation of phenomena in terms of the purpose they serve rather than of the cause by which they arise. Example, no theory of history can do without teleology. And the theology of that is the doctrine of...
That's nonsense statement. That is a nonsense statement. Basically they're saying there's no God. All right. So this was started by Aristotle 2,500 years ago. And yes.
Last time we watched a 2-hour movie on that.
You did?
Yeah.
In which class?
And
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately. Okay, so and what did it say, those 2 hours? What did you understand? Give her the microphone.
Aristotle told the church people like the Big Bang Theory, and then they took
Wait, Aristotle told the church there was no church.
not church, like
Aristotle lived 500 years before Christianity.
Okay. So he told his friends before that time everyone believed in gods, according to that thing. And
Okay,
then,
no, there were people who were following Aristotle in the time of the Christianity. Yeah.
And then he got arrested.
Aristotle got arrested?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, he did get arrested, just like Socrates was arrested in Athens. Because, now this is before Christianity. The theory of teleology is that it assumes that there's no God and that nature has inherent in it the quality of self-perfecting itself. And that went against the theory of the ancient Greek religious belief, which was in different gods, right? So they threatened to put him on trial like they did Socrates. Socrates, they put on trial. They said that his ideas were corrupting the youth of Athens. And they voted, they had a jury of 500 people, and the jury voted in favor of condemning Socrates to death. Now, after that trial, and he was condemned to death for corrupting the minds of young kids in Athens. They didn't want to kill him because he was the most prominent person in Athens. He was the top philosopher, and everyone respected him. So they quietly came up to him and said, look, we don't want to kill you, and I don't think you want to die. So why don't you just walk away? We won't stop you. And just don't come back. And Aristotle said, no, why should I do that? You condemned me to death. I accept that. I'm not walking away. And he accepted drinking poison, and he died. And he said, I'm not afraid to die. He said, because I know that my soul is eternal. I'm just living in a temporary body. So he was the first person in Western philosophy that believed completely in the soul and was not afraid to die. So he drank the poison and died. It was a great mark of embarrassment for Athens. Now, Aristotle's disciple was Plato. Plato's disciple was, Socrates' disciple was Plato, and Plato's disciple was Aristotle. And the same thing happened to Aristotle. They accused him of corrupting people's minds with false teachings. And he was also condemned to death, but they gave him the choice. You can just walk away and we won't do anything. He walked away. Yes. Because he didn't believe in the soul. He was a materialist. Yes.
You say Play-Doh?
What?
Play-Doh?
Plato.
Oh.
Not Play-Doh. Plato. 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 Your toe. Plato. T-O-E. Just put an O-E at the end. Plato. Not Play-Doh. Okay. So you didn't finish. Go ahead, Prabhu. Yeah, because Madhava asked the question.
Yeah, I think towards the end, basically, there was curiosity about, how this philosophy can bring that uniform understanding, and this consequence. Right? We were talking about, why the youth in today's life, they don't. If they think that there is only one life, then there is no consequence. You can choose to do whatever you want to do. Then how do you create the value system based on the definition of a life being, one life?
Yeah, that's called nihilism.
Which one?
Nihilism. Look it up. Nihilism. You're learning a lot of good words today. These are all good words. Nihilism.
N-I-H?
N-I-H-A-L-I-S-M or N-I-H-I-L-I-S-M. One. N-I-H-I, right? Yeah.
N-I-H-I.
Nihilism.
L-I-S-M.
Yeah.
The rejection of all religious and moral principles in the belief that life is meaningless.
Yeah. And after death, there's nothing.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So kids end up with that type of understanding. See, that's why I was saying last night. I was saying, "What's in your mind?" What was that? What was the meaning of that? Why did I say, "What's in your mind"? I must have said it about 15, 20 times last night. What was I talking about? No, what's entering your ears as false knowledge, right? Like Big Bang, like monkeys, like all these things. If you accept those ideas in your mind and you carry them in your mind, it throws your whole life off. Your whole life will be ruined by those ideas. Just like I told the story of this person we met last week on Sankirtan. And he was young, he's a man, he's 24, 25 years old. And he was married, and then his marriage fell apart. And the reason his marriage fell apart is because he became a Mayavadi. He became convinced that Mayavad philosophy is true. And what does Mayavad philosophy say? This world is an illusion. It doesn't exist, really. And to attain realization, perfection. You have to reject the world. So he started believing that, and that leads to different conclusions. Like, why am I working? It's all illusion. Why should I work? And he's married and has a child, right? So it got so bad. His wife said, "Okay, I can't live with you anymore. You've gone crazy." And then they separated, and then it was just downhill for him after that. He ended up becoming homeless. He started taking drugs. He ended up in a homeless shelter and hospitals and psychological. He had psychological problems. He wasn't able to function. And then they wanted to give him drugs. The psychologist wanted to give him drugs. And for some reason or other, he refused them. And then little by little, he got better. And now he met us last Saturday night. And I could tell he was a Mayavadi, right? So I explained to him, I said, your life was ruined because you accepted that false philosophy of Mayavadi. He says, I would not have accepted that before, but I accept it now. What you're telling me is true. It did ruin my life. The idea is that nothing is real. This whole world is false. That's what the Mayavadis say. They say, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Brahman, the effulgence in the spiritual world, this oneness of energy is the truth, and everything in this world is false. So it's like a dream. It's not real. And the only way you can go back to that Brahman state is by rejecting everything. Well, you reject everything, it's crazy. Because Rupa Goswami says, Anasaktasya vishan yatarham upanjitaha. Nirbandhas sambandha, not nirbandha, niryogashyamay apaman. He says that if you reject something that can be used in Krishna's service, that is imperfect rejection. That's imperfect renunciation. So, if you actually a devotee knows how to use everything in Krishna's service, and the Mayavadis, they reject everything as being false. You see, so if you accept Mayavad philosophy, it'll actually ruin your life. You accept an idea in your mind that's actually false. Just like these kids in your class, right, Suniti, the majority of the kids have accepted that the Big Bang is the answer to everything of creation, right? So that means there's no God. There was a Big Bang. There was supernova or this cloud or that thing or black holes and whatever, and from that creation happened. There's no God behind it. So all of a sudden that idea has entered your ears into your mind, right? So that's why I say, what's in your mind? So you could ask your those kids, they say, what's in your mind? And they'll say, Big Bang. You see? What?
For the sun, they think that that the Big Bang made it. They know that God is there, but only one person in my class knows he's an atheist.
Well, look, you say they believe in Jesus, but that's now. By the time they graduate high school, they won't believe in Jesus, believe me. Or if they believe in Jesus, Jesus is just for some moral person. The moral person, not really the Son of God who resurrected from the dead and went back to heaven and so forth. So they're only how old are the kids in your class?
9 or 10.
9, yeah. By the time they get to be 16, there won't be Jesus anymore. It'll just be the Big Bang and monkeys. That's it. Yeah. And if there is Jesus, it's not a real understanding of Jesus. He's just some person who is very moral and is teaching some good things, you know. Now, do they eat meat?
Most of them.
Yeah, okay. Do they talk nonsense?
I don't know.
You know what?
Because I only hang out with my friends.
Okay. Well, that's good. You don't hear any nonsense. Okay. So and just to finish up, the lesson today is, and your homework is to read this sheet. It's these 2 sheets of paper, and explain how Bhakti Yoga is superior to all other yogas. Yes, Mother.
First, I didn't get the paper, and second of all,
I'm going to give it to you.
did you say the homework was for me to write my story or something?
Yeah, that's your personal. And the general homework is to read this and explain why Bhakti Yoga is greater than the other yogas, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and so forth. And yes,
Yeah, one person does speak nonsense. Only one of them.
says they believe in God.
No, I don't know about that.
Oh,
but
that they're an atheist.
no,
What does one person say?
he talks nonsense. Nonsense.
Oh, he talks nonsense. Oh, yeah. And he's only 9 years old. Yes.
So, like last month or something, my friend asked me, "Do you believe in God?" I said yes, and then she said, "Then you believe in a dumb religion," and then she asked me, "Then what is God?" I said he's made up of spiritual and material elements.
Wait a minute. What is he? You said he is.
He is made up of material and spiritual elements.
I understand material and spiritual elements. What did you say before that?
She asked, "What is God?"
Yeah, and then what did you say? You said, yes, I believe in God.
Yeah.
And then they said, what is God?
Yeah.
And what did you say?
He is made up of spiritual and material elements.
He's the what of?
He's made up of spiritual.
No, that's not correct. He's the creator of everything material, spiritual. If you say he's made up of material and spiritual elements, that's actually an incorrect statement. He's the creator of everything material and spiritual. Krishna does not have a material body. If you say he's made up of material and spiritual elements, you said? Or energies? Energies, yeah. Now, he's the creator of all material and spiritual energies. That's the correct statement. Made up is a confusing word. Made up means that his body is material, right? Okay.
And so I was working with the ink, and I just started, and she said, "You really did something stupid," and then knocked my ink over.
Okay, anyway, did anyone do their homework for today? You did, Madhava? Okay, you want to read it? Yeah, go ahead. This verse is the solution to all problems.
Mam chayo vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati tyaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
English translation?
Okay. One who is engaged in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman.
Yeah, very good. Anybody else? Yes.
Chayo vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagnan samitityayitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay.
Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who is fully engaged in devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, and at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman.
Right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes, Ria. Haribo.
Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samtitam yetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
Very good. One who engages.
One who engages in full devotional service. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and comes to the level of Brahman.
Haribo. Very good. Anybody else? Go ahead, just say it. Okay.
Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
Very good.
One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends and attains transcends the modes of material nature and attains Brahman, and thus attains the level of Brahman. Comes to the level of Brahman.
Comes to the level of Brahman, yes. Very good. Okay. So that is the solution to all your problems. If you rise above the influence of the modes of material nature, you're no longer affected by them. So you no longer are situated in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. You're transcendental. And now, at that point, you can engage in devotional service, and then two things happen. The next verse says that Brahma bhuta prasanatma nasochati nakanksati samak sarve sabhute sumad bhaktim labhate param. Two things happen. Jai Shri Radha Nilamadava ki jai. Nasochati nakanksati, there's no more lamentation and no more hankering or desiring material things. One just desires Krishna and one is always happy. So it's the solution to all the problems. And one comes to the level of Brahman, in other words, one is no longer influenced by the modes of material nature. So that was our homework last week. And now your homework for tomorrow is read this and explain how Bhakti Yoga is much better than the other yogas. The other yogas are Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Astanga Yoga, or Mystic Yoga. And then explain the two big benefits of engaging in full-time Bhakti Yoga. And that's the next verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 127. And the answer is not YOLO. The answer is not YOLO. Okay. Superior to all other yogas. And the three main categories of other yogas are Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Astanga Yoga. Karma Yoga means performing ritual sacrifices in order to be elevated to the heavenly planets of the Devas, where you have more sense gratification. And Jnana Yoga is you learn the difference between what is eternal and what is temporary, or what is real and what is false, and thus you transcend the influence of the modes of material nature by such knowledge, and you can merge into the Brahman effulgence. But because you're not engaged in pure devotional service, you'll fall down. And Astanga Yoga is developing mystical powers, and there's 8 major mystical powers. You become lighter than a feather, and you become capable of flying through the air, right? Or you become smaller than an atom, and you can go through walls and go through rock and so forth. Or you become heavier and heavier, and just like and therefore no one can pick you up. Or you can create a universe. These are all different mystical powers that you can develop. In 1 second, all right, and that's Astanga Yoga, all right. So Bhakti Yoga is greater than all 3, and you'll read that. And then the next thing is to explain what are the 2 biggest benefits of engaging in Bhakti Yoga. So that's the verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 127. And when you engage in Bhakti Yoga, you develop knowledge and renunciation naturally. You don't have to study those things. Okay. So that's your homework for tomorrow. It's not complicated, and you have this sheet. So who doesn't have the sheet? Madhava doesn't have the sheet. Here it is. Okay, and then you have some personal homework. That is, you have to write down your testimony, your experience. So you can do that too, Tulsi. You can do that too, right? You told a story about the 2-hour video about teleology, how nature improves itself. It's a natural inborn thing in nature, which is not true, but it's a theory, another one of those false theories. Yeah. Sevate. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Haripo. Huh? Okay. You want to sit? Very good. Haribo. Haribo, Haribo. Red eye, okay. What? They have to wash their pillowcases.